What if you woke up alone in space, with no memory, or no idea why you're there? No crew, no mission briefing, no way to call Earth, just silence. Now imagine finding out. You might be the only person who can save humanity. That's the terrifying reality of this story. This isn't a typical space movie. There's no villain, no alien invasion, no massive battle. The real enemy is a problem, a scientific problem so big, it could wipe out life on Earth, because the sun is dying, not exploding, not disappearing, just slowly losing energy, and that small change leads to a massive consequence. Temperatures drop, ecosystems collapse, time runs out. This isn't destruction in seconds, this is extinction, creeping in slowly, which makes it even more terrifying. Now here's where things get intense. The entire survival of humanity depends on one person, a man who doesn't even remember who he is. Ryland Grace. He wakes up in a spaceship, confused, weak, or completely alone. Even his own identity feels like a mystery. Memories don't come back all at once. They return in fragments, pieces of information, small flashes of the past. And each memory brings him closer to one truth. He's not just there by accident. He was sent there for a mission that only he can complete. But here's the catch. This mission was never meant to bring him back. It's a one-way trip, which means one thing. He's not just fighting to save humanity. He's doing it knowing he might never return home. And that changes everything. Because now every decision carries weight. Every mistake matters. Every second counts. This is where the story becomes different from most movies. There are no fight scenes, no explosions driving the tension. Instead, the tension comes from thinking, from solving problems, from figuring things out under pressure. The entire story runs on one core loop: observation, hypothesis, experiment, failure, repeat, and that cycle becomes the action. Every time something goes wrong, the stakes increase. Every solution leads to another problem. Every breakthrough comes with a cost. So instead of asking, will he win? The real question becomes, can he figure it out in time? And that question keeps you hooked, because the clock is always ticking. Now let's talk about what makes this even more powerful: the character arc. At the beginning, Ryland is lost, confused, afraid. He doesn't know what's happening, or why he's even there. But slowly, as memories return, as the mission becomes clear, he starts to change. He moves from confusion to understanding, from understanding to responsibility, and from responsibility to sacrifice. Because at some point, he realizes this isn't about him anymore. It's about billions of lives back on Earth. People who have no idea what's coming. People who are depending on him without even knowing his name. And that realization is what transforms him from a man trying to survive into the person carrying the future of humanity. But here's what makes this story truly special. It feels real. The science isn't just background noise. It's the foundation. Everything has logic. Everything has rules. Everything has consequences. Which means, when something goes wrong, it feels real. When something works, it feels earned. And when the stakes rise, you feel it. Because this isn't fantasy. This is possibility. That's what hard sci-fi does best. It doesn't just entertain you. It makes you think. It pulls you into the problem, makes you feel like you're part of the solution. Now imagine being in his position, alone in space, no help, no second chances, one mission, one shot. Would you be able to stay calm? Would you be able to think clearly? Or would the pressure break you? Because that's the real battle here. Not against an enemy, but against failure, against time, against the limits of your own mind. And that's why this story stands out. It proves something powerful. You don't need monsters, or villains, or wars to create tension. Sometimes, the biggest challenge is simply figuring things out. And in this case, that challenge decides the fate of humanity. So now the question is, if the survival of the entire planet depended on you, would you be able to solve the problem? Or would it be too much? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more deep movie breakdowns, sci-fi stories, or high-retention content like this, subscribe now, because the smartest stories are often the most intense ones.